Hello and welcome to another X-Ray Tech video. I'm your host, the Automation Alchemist, and today we're going to be diving into the 101 of Zapier. So if you're new to automation and Zapier in particular, this video is going to be a general overview of the different aspects of Zapier and really get into the weeds on how your data and your software can help create more time for you. So let's get into it. So what does Zapier actually do? Well, really simply, it connects your existing software tools together. So maybe you use Gmail and Slack. And an automation that you could set up is every time you get a new email from one of your clients, you could send that email into a dedicated Slack channel, right? And there are a bunch of examples like this inside of any company. Even on the sales team, maybe you mark a deal as closed won, you could automatically create and send an invoice inside of your accounting software. Now, Zapier facilitates the movement of data between these applications. So all of this happens without needing to know how to code. So you as a marketer, as a salesperson, as an intern, you can learn how to connect different software tools together and save you and your company time. So if you feel like you're doing some repetitive task, maybe copying and pasting information into a spreadsheet or something like that, you can automate today and start saving yourself time in the future. Now let's talk about pricing. Now there is a free plan with Zapier, but you can only do two-step Zaps. So you're really limited with what types of automations you can actually build. If you're serious about saving your time and creating more time for you and your company, you're most likely going to need to be on the starter or the professional plan. And that's basically 20 or 50 bucks a month. And when you extrapolate that out to, the amount of time that it saves you, an extra 50 bucks a month to save you a few hours is really, really worth it. At X-Ray, most of our clients are on the Professional Plus or Professional plan, and for them, it's a no-brainer. There are a ton of automations that they rely on to make their business work most efficiently, and $50 or $100 a month is peanuts compared to the amount of manual tasks that they were doing before using Zapier. There's also enterprise and company-wide plans, which have fancier things like upgraded security, SSO, and even unlimited users, so everyone on your team can log in and be able to make something that helps their workflow be a little bit smoother. Now for the brief tutorial today, we're just going to be making a simple two-step Zap. So every calendar event, we are going to log inside of a spreadsheet. So if you're on the free plan, you can follow along. So let's get started. So we're just going to make a test event at first. Test event for Zapier. Don't need any other attendees. We'll just add it to our calendar here. And then when you're in Zapier, you're going to click on that Create Zap button on the top left. Once it loads, you'll have the ability to set your trigger. Now your trigger is the very first step in the automation. That's what tells Zapier, hey, there's new information here, go and perform this subsequent automation. So we need to link our account. You just sign in like you normally would. If you're on Google, it makes it really easy. And then we're gonna select our account. So Matt is gonna be our helper today on the calendar side. And once you pull the test data, this is really, really important. This test data is the data that allows you to build the rest of the automation. This information inside of the test, right? You see that test event for Zapier, that's what we were able to pull on event C. And we're gonna continue here, and now we're gonna perform the actions. So we want it to be in a spreadsheet, so we're just gonna create a new spreadsheet. We're gonna name that spreadsheet, right, calendar events, really simply, and add some titles. So the event name, maybe the start time, end time, and probably some attendees or guests. So that's all we need to do. We'll just make it bold for fun. Before you leave Google Sheets, you are going to want to grab that file ID, and that's going to be the ID from after the /d/ all the way up to the /edit. So you can see me highlighting that right up top there. Just copy that ID for now. We'll refer to it a little bit later. So we'll select Google Sheets as our next app, and we're going to create a spreadsheet row inside of Google Sheets. Again, you do need to log in. The way that authentication works in Zapier is every individual app needs its own authentication, so that's totally fine. Then we're gonna be setting up the action. So you're gonna select your Google Drive, you're gonna paste that spreadsheet ID under the spreadsheet column, and then just select worksheet 1. And these variables that you see here, event name, start date, all of that, is gonna populate the Google Sheet. And now when we click on that field, you see all of these number 1 show up, right? 1 summary, 1 description, 1 event. These are the variables from the first initial trigger. So when you pull the test data, this is you connecting the test data to specific fields in Google Sheets. So if you don't have test data, you can't even do this sort of mapping step. So we'll add the attendees. Even though there aren't any attendees in that first event, we can still map it. And click continue, and then test and review. So test and review is actually going to facilitate the automation. It's going to push this data to Google Sheets. One thing to keep in mind is that when you test a step inside of an automation, it is actually going to conduct that action. So try not to test using test data from a client's email or somewhere that you can't actually monitor or go check to make sure that the automation worked as intended. So when you test, use good test data that you can check and verify that the test worked. So when you go to Google Sheets to check, you should see, there it is. There is the information from our first event, test event for Zapier, start time and end time, and there are no guests there because we didn't make any guests in that first calendar invite. So when we go back to Zapier, we need to name it. Always name your Zaps. Something really contextual, usually with the name of the applications that are in it, and then turn the Zap on. So once the Zap is on, if you're on the free plan, it'll run probably every 10 or 15 minutes. So we'll create another test event for Zapier, and we're gonna add a couple attendees, right? A couple guests to that. And we'll select them and save, and then head over to our Google Sheet and see what happens. And there it is. So in just about 3 to 5 minutes, you saw that record update into Google Sheets. So I hope this video gave you a solid introduction to Zapier. Give it a try. Who knows, you'll be an automator in no time. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us get our message out. And if there's other things you'd like to learn about low and no code automation, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, really wherever you're comfortable. And all of our resources are on our website at xray.tech. All of those links and more are in the description down below. And as always, don't forget, keep the flow.